Astu chanira vidyitam.
Astu chanira vidyitam.
Balam tavyam tatasvara.
Balam tavyam tatasvara.
Adu chanira vidyitam.
Adu chanira vidyitam.
Gatis tavyam tatu hari.
Gatis tavyam tatu hari.
Astu chanira vidyitam.
Astu chanira vidyitam.
Balam tavyam tatasvara.
Balam tavyam tatasvara.
Adu chanira vidyitam.
Adu chanira vidyitam.
Gatis tavyam tatu hari.
Gatis tavyam tatu hari.
Astu chanira vidyitam.
Astu chanira vidyitam.
Balam tavyam tatasvara.
Balam tavyam tatasvara.
Adu chanira vidyitam.
Adu chanira vidyitam.
Gatis tavyam tatu hari.
Gatis tavyam tatu hari. Hastau chanir abhidyetam. Hastau chanir abhidyetam. Balam tavyam tatasvara. Balam tavyam tatasvara. Padau chanir abhidyetam. Padau chanir abhidyetam. Gatis tavyam tato hari. Gatis tavyam tato hari.
Chanirabhidyetam.
Hastau chanir abhidyetam.
Balam tavyam tato sarat.
Balam tavyam tatasvara.
Padau chanirvidyetam.
Padau chanir abhidyetam.
Gatis tavyam tato hari.
Gatis tavyam tato hari. Tato chanir abhidyetam. Balam tavyam tatasvara. Padau chanir abhidyetam. Gatis tavyam tato hari.
Ladies,
Hastau chanir abhidyetam. Balam tavyam tatasvara. Padau chanir abhidyetam. Gatis tavyam tato hari. Hastau chanir abhidyetam. Balam tavyam tatasvara. Padau chanir abhidyetam. Gatis tavyam tato hari.
Hastu. The two hands.
The two hands.
Cha.
Cha.
And. Niravidyetam.
Niravidyetam.
Were manifested.
Manifest.
Balam.
Balam.
Power.
Power.
Tavyam.
Tavyam.
From them.
From them.
Tata.
Tata.
Thereafter.
Thereafter.
Swara.
Swara.
Lord Indra.
Lord Indra.
Pado.
Pado.
The 2 feet.
The 2 feet.
Cha.
Cha.
And. Niravidyetam.
Niravidyetam.
Became manifest.
Became manifest.
Gati.
Gati.
The process of movement.
The process of movement.
Tavyam.
Tavyam.
From them.
From them.
Tataha.
Tataha.
Then.
Then.
Hari.
Hare.
Lord Vishnu.
Lord Vishnu.
Translation. Thereafter the 2 hands of the universal form of the Lord manifested, and with them the power of grasping and dropping things. And after that, Lord Indra appeared. Next, the legs became manifest, and with them the process of movement. And after that, Lord Vishnu appeared. Purport. The presiding deity over the hands is Indra, and the presiding deity of movement is the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu. Vishnu appeared on the appearance of the legs of the Virat Purusha. Om Ajnana Timranasya Gnanam Salakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manohistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swaparantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta-pada-kamanam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Nitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Sarvamritamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Vedanta Radhakanta Namaste Tatra Kanshana Gauraki Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sridevi Pranamami Hariye Vanchakalpadrubhyata Kripa Sindhu Devata Paritanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So in this chapter entitled Fundamental Principles of Material Nature, we are seeing how first the universal form is manifesting. And as the universal form is manifesting, then the various sensual functions are manifesting, and their presiding deities are also manifesting. So here it is said, thereafter that two hands of the universal form of the Lord became manifested, and with them the power of grasping and dropping things. And after that, Lord Indra appeared. And Indra is described as the presiding deity of the hands. And that is interesting, because the hands are the tools by which we can do things in the material world, by which we can take things and make them ours, by which we can put things in positions where they are favorable for us. So in this way, the hands are giving us very important access to lording it over the material energy and to try and enjoy the material energy. Isvaraham Bhogi, I am the enjoyer, and I'm the controller, and I'm the enjoyer. Indra, however, is not only engaging in controlling the material energy for his own enjoyment. Indra is rather using his hands very nicely. It is said that Indra is very fortunate because the Supreme Personality of Godhead appeared as his younger brother. And subsequently, Indra was worshipping his younger brother, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as a deity. And Indra would offer all the various items. He would sometimes, along with other demigods, they would offer 16 items, and other times even 64 items in deity worship. And in that way, he is like worshipping his younger brother. Then his younger brother would at times, after the worship, leave him, and Indra would follow him and worship the Lord in that way. But then the Lord would go to his abode, and Indra could no longer follow. And Indra returned to his own abode. So in this way, Indra is also using his hands, which are ruling the universe, in worship of the Supreme Lord. And therefore, Indra is considered extremely pious and extremely elevated, because he understands how to use the senses. So all this which I just explained is found in the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam Rita of Sanatana Swami, who is where Narada Muni is trying to understand who is the greatest recipient of the mercy of the Lord. And he has first identified a Brahmana and glorified that Brahmana, because the Brahmana was worshipping the Lord so nicely. But the Brahmana said, no, actually, I am just worshipping, trying to. I'm doing a puja by myself. But in South India, there's a king. He engages his entire kingdom in the worship of the Lord. So he's much greater than I am. So really, he's a greater recipient of the mercy of the Lord. But then the king said, we are making so many folds, we are so limited. It's the demigods who are really, really worshipping the Lord. And then Narada comes to Indra. Indra, however, explains that as demigods they may be worshipping the Lord, but that there is also personal desire, that they are also benefiting, that while he's worshipping the Lord, he's remembering how the Lord has protected him so many times and has provided for him to regain his kingdom from the demigods. As he's worshipping his younger brother Vamanadev, Upendra. In this way, he is greatly grateful to the Lord. And should he not be, since the Lord has rewarded him? So, in all his worship, is his attachment to the Lord, or is his attachment to the results he gets from the worship? And is he actually not, although he appears to be worshipping the Lord so nicely, is it actually not worshipping the Lord for the sake out of love, but loving the results? So then, is he worshipping at all? Or is he actually fulfilling his own fruitive desires? So in this way, one can perceive Lord Indra, and one can perceive how Lord Indra has been granted control over many aspects in the universe, because the universe is an arrangement for the living beings to become bewildered. That was the original purpose of the universe. And when Lord Brahma is creating the universe, he has to create so many influences. And one of the influences which he doesn't like to create is the influence of nescience, the influence of forgetfulness, so that the living being can be an illusion. So Lord Brahma creates that influence, which is very powerful, and he feels guilty at the same time. He feels like, what have I done now? Now I have created this influence of nescience, and along with that, I am basically creating a very powerful force which is cutting the living beings. Prabhu. The living beings is cutting the living beings of their opportunity to worship the Supreme Lord. So then, we can see that Lord Brahma started to feel guilty. He started to think, like, I'm creating this influence of nescience, and as a result, the living beings are forgetting. Therefore, he created then the 4 processes of gaining knowledge and put the 4 Kumaras in charge of that. And which included Sankhya, it included yoga, and just now the other 2 won't come to mind. Anyway, the point is that in due course of time, Indra is also placed in a position of control and power over certain aspects of the universe. Because Indra, his piety is predominant. Although his material desires are there, his piety is predominant. And therefore, Indra becomes an agent of the Supreme Lord to uphold the religious order within the universe. And accordingly, according to the religious order, the more pious beings are residing in higher realms of the universe, and the more impious being in lower realms of the universe. There's an interesting description in the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, where it is mentioned that one is placed in various planetary systems according to one's relationship with sexuality. We see that in the higher regions of the universe, such as Brahmaloka, it is the abode which is attained by sannyasis. Then there is the Maharjana and Tapalokas are below. Tapaloka is the abode of the brahmacharis, attained by the brahmacharis. Then below, on the Mahar and the Jana Loka, there we find great sages, and these sages on the Mahaloka are preoccupying themselves with austerity and with the aim to benedict the universe with transcendental knowledge. Then on the Maharloka is the abode of the Prajapatis. We find descriptions in the Bhagavatam of different Prajapatis. Swayambhuva Manu is described as a Prajapati. Daksha is described as a Prajapati. And these Prajapatis were meant in the beginning of the universe to populate the universe. So it said the Prajapatis on Maharloka are constantly engaged in performing tapasya and constantly engaged in performing austerity, and then for the purpose of producing proper offspring. So they perform many austerities just for that sake, to produce proper offspring. Then below that start the heavenly planets, where the demigods are very pious, but also sensually inclined, and also enjoying the senses. Then below that, we're coming eventually to the middle planetary systems here, where it is said the mode of passion is predominant. In the heavenly planets, the mode of goodness is predominant. So therefore, in the heavenly planets, one is inclined to do things according to the injunctions of Scripture. But if one takes birth on this planet, then one is has inner resistance. One has inner resistance to the injunctions of the Scripture, because here one is predominated by the mode of passion. And whatever influence of goodness comes, it comes after. It comes as an afterthought. I know, we are supposed to, but I don't really feel like it, to be honest. Right? That is the basic condition in this middle planetary system, which is, and therefore sexuality here is not always bound by rules and regulations. What to do? Mode of passion is very much predominating. We see that sometimes in the heavenly planets also passions take over, and there are some descriptions of some personalities who broke the rules and who were cursed, who were immediately cursed, because such a thing is not possible in the heavenly regions. Whereas here, well, we should understand, we should appreciate, we should basically appreciate the criminals because we know how hard it is. We ourselves are also feeling it, how difficult it is to squeeze ourselves into this concept of prescribed duty. Oh, I want to follow my feelings. See, means the mode of passion is predominant. So that is our... and then for those who are addicted to illicit sex, then we go into the lower regions of the universe, and there's outright punishment. We see descriptions of, in the 5th canto, of embracing red-hot forms of the opposite, of molten iron of the opposite sex. That part is a bit intense. So, but it's interesting that the key to placement in the universe is described to be sexuality. I'm still in the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, by the way, by this whole explanation. So it's quite interesting if we look at it like that. So we have kind of contemplated on Indra's position, and we can see how in Śrīmad Bhāgavatam Narada is glorifying Indra, and therefore we should also glorify Indra and appreciate his extraordinary piety. Sometimes in our movement we may have a tendency to minimize Indra because, after all, he said, well, the demigod still of material desire. So that's, to be rejected. And the real thing is anyam sunyam jnana. Anything less than that is not really so great. Therefore, we might, and then Indra so many times gets into trouble, like time of Govardhan and all that, becoming proud. Therefore, and then he killed that Brahmana, like Vishvarup, and so on, who became the priest of the demigods. First of all, he's sitting on his throne, being glorified when his spiritual master comes. And then he doesn't get down and doesn't offer respect to his spiritual master. He becomes proud. The spiritual master just leaves. Subsequently, he needs a new spiritual master to perform yajnas and oblations. So they get this Vishvarup, but he is not a perfect choice because he has some lineage with the Daityas. Anyway, he agrees to become the priest of the demigod, so it's all fine, and he knows everything. He does everything correctly. But there is one problem. He has attachment to the Daityas, so he's secretly also worshipping the Daityas. So this is, and doing oblations for the Daityas, not worshipping, doing oblations for the Daityas. So that is a major problem. So therefore, Indra just in a moment of passion acts and kills him. So just see, so like generally speaking, we look at these kind of things. Well, Indra, then the sage, and and secretly becoming invisible, having an illicit relationship with his wife, and then being cursed. So you like vagina so much, then you can have, and his whole body became covered. That's very embarrassing. What do we do now? And the sage then turned them into eyes. And all these things we may recall. And therefore we may think, well, Indra. But that is not exactly correct, because we're seeing how Narada is greatly appreciating Indra for his extraordinary piety, for his constant worship, and then that he makes some mistakes. That may be. But we should know a small man will make small mistakes and a big man will make big mistakes. Right? Wait till Donald Trump becomes the president. You will see, he'll make big mistakes and you'll have to see it. It's obvious. What can we say? Because a big man deals with big things. So Indra is a very big personality, so therefore his mistakes look very big. But from the perspective of the Supreme Lord, from the perspective of Narada Muni, they're not so big. They're not so big as we look at them. Of course, Krishna sometimes chastised him at the time of the whole Govardhan situation. It is described by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur that Krishna, after the whole 7 days were over and after Govardhan was back in its place, that Krishna went to Govardhan to have a look at what damage Indra really had done on the back of Govardhan. Because while Krishna was holding Govardhan, Indra was just throwing that thunderbolt. That's a look, at the condition of Govardhan. So Krishna was checking it out, and then Indra was also appearing there. And Krishna was shaking his head and said, Indra, how could you do such a thing? How could you do such a thing? How could you come into this state of consciousness that you wanted to destroy and kill the residents of Vrindavan? You're supposed to be a devotee. And so how is it possible that you would have come to this consciousness? Indra said, I was proud. Krishna said, that's okay. But a devotee is supposed to curb pride by intelligence. So that's no excuse. Then Indra said, yes, but I was angry, and therefore I lost my intelligence. And then I acted in that way. So Krishna just shook his head and just left. He left him there. He didn't speak to him. So he did punish him in different ways. But he remained still Indra, and he still remained. He didn't replace him or something like that. You're fired. Nothing like that. He didn't fire him. Because he knew that deep down, Indra is such a pious soul. And look how long he lives. And look how many things he does right. And then a few things not right. Just that, he is so powerful that, he'll make a few mistakes. That is natural. A little pride can come when one is so powerful. So he didn't. So in this way, we should look at Indra as an extremely exalted soul and appreciate that these apparent very serious transgressions are when you are Indra, not so serious. If we would do such things, since we are small men, that would be a very big thing for us. So in this way, we look at Indra from another perspective. Anyway, back to the point that Indra, when the universal form of the Lord became, when the hands of the universal form became manifested, Indra became manifested and became the presiding deity. So it's interesting how the hands are representing Indra, taking and moving and controlling, which is what the hands do. Next, the legs became manifested, and with them the process of movement. And after that, Lord Vishnu appeared. It is described by Srila Prabhupada in the introduction to the Chaitanya Charitamrita that the word Chaitanya means living force. and that is the living force that moves things. And he describes how in that way the Lord is the prime mover. It is the Lord who is the source of life. Without the Lord, there's no question of life or movement or energy. This is Lord Vishnu, because this is part of the maintenance. This takes a lot of energy. It is not just the creation, but this movement is an ongoing thing. It is said Lord Brahma is the creator, Lord Shiva the destroyer, Lord Vishnu the maintainer, because that takes unlimited energy. And here, to all the movement within the universe, can anyone sit still? I mean, as I'm looking here, blinking, scratching, lifting glasses, putting them back down, and smiling, like so many things. Constantly in movement. Everything is moving all the time. Some fly is moving around like that. So there is so much movement. Look outside, and the trees are just moving, the wind is moving, and the planet is moving. Scientists are saying as you go that the wind is blowing in one direction because of the rotation of the earth. And that is why when you fly to Australia from Europe, it takes much longer than when you fly back. And sometimes on such a big flight, it can be like 45 minutes difference. That's a lot of difference, 45 minutes, just because the wind is blowing from a different side. So they schedule more time. Yeah, it's like same distance, but they schedule more time. So like this, so much movement is there, everywhere, all the time, outside of our bodies and within the bodies. Right? That little snack you had this morning, it's sort of, it's moving, it's going down, right? Just that little, booster. Oh yes, it's moving right now. You're holding it, but you can't hold it back. It's moving. So in this way, we understand that Lord Vishnu is the only deity who can be the controlling deity of the process of movement. It's now we understand and took that personal. And that is very wonderful. How we see that this whole creation is coming into being, and how personal the whole thing is. And how the modern world view is so mechanistic. The whole universe is considered to be a machine, and different forces are at work and are just in an equilibrium and are just creating all kinds of things. It's just like, you throw different chemicals together. Some basic chemicals are thrown together. And then you take some phosphates and some other chemicals, you throw them together, and then you run some electricity through it, right? Suddenly a boost of electricity. And what you get in what was otherwise clear is some sort of brown drab, right? Some brownish substance after the electricity. And these are amino acids. Amino acids. Very important. Because amino acids are nothing else but protein. And protein, everybody knows. You need protein. Without protein, where will you be? You cannot. The human body and protein, yes. And then we get the DNAs, and these DNAs, right, are amazing things, right? Because the DNAs, first of all, there's a long strand, one can compare it. I listened to a lecture of Sadhguru, so I know everything now. That's why I sound so learned. You know? Just, I'll confess. But, you know, basically, he says the DNA is like a string, like a long string. And one could sort of think there are knots in the string at certain intervals. Right? And the string is a code of, like, according to which describes the nature of a living being. And that string is very long. So they've packed the string all together. They packed the string all together, so it's like a rope, up and down, like stacked, like a big stack of rope, and knots at certain intervals. Then, in order for a cell to multiply, it has to copy that string. So what happens is, in the cell, right next to the original DNA string, comes another one. And then, well, you try 2 bunches of rope on top of each other, yeah? 2 stacks of rope, and you try to open them up. Anybody who has second initiation knows, you know, because every once in a while, when you're trying to open that Brahmin thread, right, sometimes it just goes wrong. You know, it's like it does, you know. Okay, there are certain tricks which the professionals use. There are knots in them, and you hold the knots together. That's very, if you don't do that, you're lost. You hold the 2 knots together and then pull, and you say a little prayer as you pull. You know, because, especially, you know, when you have to give second initiation to someone as the guru, right, and you're opening the thread, right? Because you can, if you're smart, you get a secretary to open the thread to save you the embarrassment. Because it can happen, you know, that you, the expert, like, poof, suddenly there's a knot in the whole thing. Because that's what strings do when they're next to each other. They tangle up. No, and that, what do you think that happens in the cells with the DNA string? Same thing, same thing. But no problem. There is some sort of machine. And what the machine does, the machine just comes in and cuts, you know, where the knot is, and cuts where the entanglement is, and just makes a cut, holds the ends at the same time, and then cuts the other part also, and then connects it again properly. So that's difficult, I mean, such a machine, but all that exists within the cell. So all this is going on, you know, and here we have looping of DNAs and all these things, right? Sounds quite complex, and all this is happening by chance, just in case you didn't know. Just over time. So Sadhguru did some calculations at that stage, since he's a mathematician, and he started to calculate the chance, and it came to something like 1 to the 100th billion years. Well, we haven't completed that yet. So according to the chance calculation, by chance it couldn't have yet come about. It might take a little longer. Because some say 20 billion years, others say 10 billion years ago, the Big Bang. So all that doesn't work. So, okay, that's the whole mechanistic or biochemistry view of creation. And it all is just happening like in a big mechanism, and then we live in it. And now we're living in this. And any moment, a meteor can fall on your head. And what are we going to do? No problem. No problem. There was, that same question was asked on a television program. And so the presenter was asking, so this meteorite is coming towards Earth, and what are we going to do? He says, well, no problem. We'll call the army, and they'll shoot it out of the sky. Simply, they sent like a missile, a couple, a bunch of them, with nuclear heads, and they just blow the whole thing to pieces. Easy. You just shoot it out of the sky. So they called life a general, and they had him on the phone, and they asked the general, "So, General, what do you think about this?" It's like, can we shoot the thing out of the sky? Well, the general said, imagine a football field, right? And imagine that there are two men. One is standing at the back, near the goal line, and the other one is standing in the middle on the side of the field, just also at the line. The man from the goal, he takes a gun and he shoots a bullet across the football field, and then the man on the side has to shoot that bullet out of the sky. He says, "That's what you're asking us to do." He says, "It's not easy to hit the target." Okay. Yeah. Well, then what are we going to do? What are we going to do? What if the army is not going to save us? Well, then what we'll do, then, it gets serious, but at least we'll save humanity. And we'll send a whole bunch of people in spaceships to other planets, and there they can temporarily reside, and then they'll come back, we'll give them the technology to come back as well. And they'll come back to Earth after the whole thing is over. And then repopulate the Earth, it's a lot. So, yeah. And, but then they called an astronomer, and they said, they asked the astronomer, how much advance warning could you give us, for such a impending meteorite collision? And the astronomer said, well, it's not going to be easy because the sky is very vast, and with our telescopes, we are covering only certain portions of it. We are not covering every corner of the sky. So the chance that we see it with our telescopes is not so big. We might see it a few minutes before it hits. Gosh, how can you go to bed tonight? A meteorite may just come out of the sky and land on your head. Oh my God. We're living in this universe. Oh no. And yes, this is what Nietzsche has told the world. Man is living in a hostile universe. The universe is not our friend, it is hostile. We're attacked from all sides. I spoke about meteorites, but meanwhile, the germs are eating you from within. I was talking with Virabhadra about something, and then I said, I'll send it to you by email, if you give me your email. He gave me the email the next day, and then I couldn't remember what I was supposed to send him. He couldn't remember what he was supposed to send him. And he was saying, well, we're getting old. Virabhadra, I read an article just for you to contemplate on. And it says that if there are gaps coming into your memory, right, that it's not just getting old. What is really going on, O Virabhadra, is there is a good chance that you have worms in your brain. And the worms, they literally are eating your brains. And it says you get holes in your brains. You get holes in your brains, and therefore you forget. How does that feel? Are you also forgetting something sometimes? Or is Virabhadra the only one with worms in his brain? Of course, I'm conveniently forgetting that I'm also forgetting. I must have a python inside my brain. My gosh, it's like something. Anyway, what was I talking about? Jeez. Where was I? Well, so We're just looking at the two models next to each other. And so Nietzsche is saying we're living in a hostile universe, constantly under attack. From the macro world to the micro world, and we are in between. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And what is the answer? Nietzsche said, the answer is power. Power. And that's it. Technology. Science, Bacteria, nuke them, you know what I mean? Take a nuclear pill. Billions of bacteria just destroyed. Half dead myself. But the bacteria, the empire strikes back. The empire strikes back superbugs. Especially in Delhi. Delhi is full of superbugs. Right? Somehow or other, it is described that in Delhi, even in the bottled drinking water, there are superbugs. Superbugs that are sort of now announcing the post-antibiotic era. Yes. Because, in India, if you are not well, you just go to the doctor and you ask for a goli. Or you get a goli, or you get an injection, even better. And that, is usually antibiotics. Even if you have a sniffle, it doesn't matter. They give you antibiotics. And thus, India is the best breeding ground for antibiotic-resistant bacteria, viruses, and whatever else. And therefore, we have superbugs. Not Superman or Supergirl, no, superbugs. Oh, what are we going to do? What are we going to do when a flu can kill you? That day will come. Oh no. Anxiety, hostile universe. We need to increase our power. We urge, but we have a new approach. Genetic engineering. Ah, yes. Instead of fighting now with antibiotics, we will have to make some changes, Mataji. I'm very sorry. But we have to make some changes in the genes. It's the only way we can defeat the superbugs. You may no longer be the same person you used to be, but anyway, you'll be still alive. Your head will become longer, your hands start to grow 6 fingers. And God knows what else. Horns. And yes, genetic engineering, it's good stuff. It's great stuff. Man is increasing his power to get more control over the situation. Luckily, now with genetic engineering, we are making great progress. Oh yes, we do. You know that we can make tomatoes that don't go bad. We can make potatoes that are 4 times as big than the old ones. Oh yes, we can. And do you know how? I'll tell you, the tomatoes, they have scorpion genes. Some other scorpions are tough creatures, you can't get rid of them. Right? So, the tomatoes, they become more tough. The fat potatoes, guess what genes they have? Yes, you got it right. Pig genes. Oh dear, I'm a vegetarian. I came home. I stayed in some home, and after a program, I came there and they were watching television. And on the television, it was showing genetic engineering. And it showed what they did to animals, and without legs, and like blobs, and to get more flesh, and it was horrible. Ooh, and then it showed what they did to vegetables, and that shocked me even more because I'm a vegetarian, and I said, wait a minute, this is what I eat. Right. And that night, I had a dream, and in the dream, I walked into the supermarket, and when I came to the vegetable section, there were some cabbages, and they were singing a song. Take us home, we're all alone. take us on along. And I woke up and I was sweating. And my God, this is a nightmare. Singing cabbages, what's coming next? And the thing that scared me the most was that today it's a dream and tomorrow it will be real. Because this is what they want, singing cabbages. Wow. Dollar signs in the eyes, can you see, I mean, that singing cabbages, hey? Whew. We could clean up with those. Take me home. Oh, they're so cute. Yeah. Oh, gosh. And all this because we think we are living in a hostile universe, and because we think the only option, the only answer to this constant battle is power. We have to increase human power. Science has to progress. We need new medicines. We need more money for research. Donate. Please, donate. It's important. Important. Yes, it is actually. Are you ready? Are you devotee? Are you ready to give your organs? Are you ready to donate your organs? Donate now. Do you know that we can save people's lives? When it comes to that day that you have to die, are you going to give your organs or are you just going to let them go to waste? Oh, are you going to burn them to ashes? Huh? Or are you going to just be generous? And what is it to you? You're dead anyway. Right? When you give it away. Huh? So, raise your hands right now, a show of hands. I want a show of hands to see who is generous and who will give from the heart. Are you ready to give your organs? Raise your hands. Anybody? Come on. Monsters. Selfish. You're all so you have no compassion. The truth comes out, devotees. Oh yes, speaking lofty words, love, mercy to other living entities and all that. A simple little thing I'm asking. When you're dead, not when you're alive, when you're dead, give your organs. Ready to give? Anybody? All right, thank you. Hare Namananda. Here's a merciful man. Another one. Two hands. Any more hands? Come on. Be brave. Be generous. Think of how much. What if you would be in that position? What if you would be waiting on a waiting list and there would be no organs? How would you feel if someone would be a donor? How would you feel? Come on. Huh? You smell a rat, is it? Thinking this Swami's going to trap us. Yes?
I'm already dead.
You're already dead, so you're ready to give?
Because you told that...
You will give?
Yeah?
Okay, another one. Yay! Ladies and gentlemen. Three donors we have here today. Any more? Anyway, it can't take the whole time, till 9 o'clock to get all of you to donate your organs. But Bhakta should definitely do it because he's got a big heart. So we want it, come on, Bhakta, give us that heart. Come on, show now, hey, Bhakta, you can't be miserly now. This is the final test. He's not doing it. Okay, well, folks, let me tell you some news, right? There are, actually, to have a donor, right, the person must be in a situation where he is dead and not dead. Because when a body is completely dead, immediately the body starts to decompose and the organs are, they're already rotting from the moment the person's dead.
Therefore, they cannot be used anymore. So, the body, in a way, must be dead and alive. So there's something invented called clinically dead or brain dead. Right? And that means that we cannot measure any brain activity anymore. The person is brain dead, but the heart is still beating. There's still a heartbeat. And we harvest the organs, right? Now, as we start harvesting, we take out the different organs little by little. We take out first the easy things like the eyes, take out the eyes. And then slowly, start to take out organs that become more disturbing to the body. Eventually, take out a kidney, right? And then, when you take out the second kidney, that's sort of when you have to start going for the heart, and you go for the heart. Now, what happens is, as they take out these organs, they are measuring things, and they measure also blood pressure. And sometimes the blood pressure gets a spike as they take out an organ. It suddenly shoots up, just like when during an operation they haven't given a person enough anesthesia. In some cases, in brain-dead people, there even is jerking of the body. There is a jerk, a reflex, but no problem. They inject the body with a paralyzing agent. So that's okay. That can be resolved before you just inject with a paralyzing agent. The person's brain dead, cannot be saved, finished, harvest all the organs, and, just getting ready for transplant. Are you ready? 3 dollars. Are now another. You decide if Dalton Okay. Ready? So, it's amazing. Amazing the progress we are making. The power of modern science and how we can save lives. And I'm so glad that we got a kidney to save my little daughter. No, really. I mean, that this child has to go through this immense suffering. I wish I could exchange with her 100 times, and that I could go on the kidney machine. That such a young child has to go for dialysis. But now, oh, thank God, we have a donor, we have a kidney. Yeah. But what are we doing? What games are we playing? In the news. The last few days I was reading the news, and the news was showing children, who are in a dying condition. And just one child died in the arms of Santa to feel better. Yeah. Wow. Where are you gonna go if you die in the arms of Santa? What's your next birthday? And the last words of the child were, Santa, can you help me? Okay, there you go. Yeah. So there was another 13-year-old that started a court case to have the right to be frozen. So that it could be revived later on. And saying, and here we are using all our power to freeze people, to dress someone up as Santa, and to fool kids. Why don't we just face the truth? And the truth is, Nahanyate anyamane sarire, you cannot die. You cannot die. Death is not such a big deal as we make it. The body is never alive, it's the soul that is alive. Therefore dying doesn't even happen. We're already dead. You're just a bunch of dead bodies, just that you know. Or you're a bunch of dead bodies, okay? Just that you know. The body is not alive at all, it is the soul that is alive. Anyway, like this we can appreciate. So the Bhagavatam is saving us from this hellish understanding. You know, we're mentally living in hell with Nietzsche's mechanistic universe, where we need power, a hostile universe. He's intelligent, he figured it out, it's true. But we can see behind it, and we see that actually it doesn't matter, Virabhadra, if you have worms in your brain or not. It really doesn't matter. Let them eat it, because you're not your brains. Right? So, you know, even if you forget anything, just pray that you may never forget Krishna. Right? And for the rest. Maybe it's a good idea to forget the material world. I know one devotee, a Prabhupada disciple named Shamla, who came originally from Navadvip, and he got cancer at one point, and he got a brain tumor. And his memory just disappeared. He couldn't remember anything. Right? He remembered a few devotees. Right? So I went to his house, and he said, oh, I am so blessed. I am so blessed. A sannyasi has come to my house. I am so blessed, you know. In Navadvip, right, you know, we're appreciating so much when a sannyasi comes to our house. He was remembering that he was from Navadvip. Right? And then he was remembering Prabhupada and the interactions that he had with Prabhupada. He said, you know, Prabhupada used to like sweets. He used to tell me in Calcutta to buy sweets for the deities. From certain shops, you know, not from anywhere, but from good shops, and then offer to the deities. And he could tell this story the whole day. He was, you know, like he'd tell you the story, and 20 seconds later, tell you the same story again. And some people say, oh, it's so sad. I said, sad? It's perfect. He forgot everything. All that he remembers is he's got his Prabhupada memories. And then he's from Navadvip. Well, you know, I mean, gosh, you know, if you can live like that. And you could see that the disease had reduced him to his essence, to the essence of his being. And the essence of his being was, he was from the Dhamma. And that's not a small thing. Right? And the other essence of the being was Prabhupada's mercy. And that's all that was left of him. And he left his body like that, in ecstasy. You know, I'd sign for it, if it can go in that way. Instead of thinking about a million things, what about my savings? What about my, you know, computer? Oh, you know. What about so many things? No, all gone. Wonderful. If one sees with transcendental vision, suddenly these things we lose, we're losing the cause of our suffering. We're losing the illusion that covers us. We're losing the nescience, and all that remains is Krishna consciousness. So Bhagavatam brings us back to look at the universe in a very personal way. And isn't it interesting that Lord Brahma appeared on a lotus flower? And that, which came from the navel of Lord Vishnu. And do we also have something with a navel in our birth? Isn't it interesting? Macrocosmos, microcosmos, and the similarity. And how everything is so personal. Isn't it nice that Indra is controlling the hands? Isn't it reassuring that Lord Vishnu is controlling movement? Because if he is, then he can control the movement of that meteorite. And he's probably got more chance to, to do something about it than that general, right? Because he sounds pretty useless, if you ask me. In this way, Bhagavatam is giving us shelter and comfort in an understanding which can bring peace of mind. And that's how, in a very practical way, Bhagavatam is superior knowledge. And how all this knowledge of modern science leaves a person in total anxiety. Superpowers. Anyone donating any organs today? Yes. We have to save lives. Yes. Save lives, yes. We have to. Any questions or comments? Right.
There's another sad but also wonderful understanding of a Vaishnava, devotee lady, Prabhupada disciple, who had severe Alzheimer's.
Severe what?
Alzheimer's.
Alzheimer's.
And she completely forgot everything. But every day, the only thing that she would do is Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. She didn't even know why she was doing it. They didn't know why she was doing it, but that's the one thing that she did every day.
Yeah.
So Krishna never lets us down
Yeah.
at that time.
That's nice. Nice conclusion. Krishna never lets us down. Yeah. So how we're safe. Krishna doesn't let us down. He's there. Yeah. Krishna never lets us down. It's nice. Nice sentence. Anyone else?
Didn't Nietzsche commit suicide?
Sorry.
Nietzsche, didn't he commit suicide?
Nietzsche.
This philosopher.
Oh, Nietzsche. No, he went crazy. Yeah. He went crazy. But he was very sharp. He had a very sharp brain. Let me say, his initial premises are wrong, right? But he was very good in systematic thinking, and that's why he became so influential. Yeah. And then his sister, she took his philosophy and she became a Nazi, and she gave all the books to the Nazis, and it became part of the whole Nazi philosophy, because Nietzsche had spoken about the Übermensch, that in the evolution there had to be something above man, and that was about to come in the whole concept of evolution. The greater than man, and that became a Nazi agenda. And of course, blonde hairs and blue eyes was closer than Jewish noses. So they found a philosophy that justified we have the killing of the Jews. So philosophy is helpful. So the outlook that we have of the world determines our actions. Therefore, when we have the outlook of Bhagavatam, and we see that everything is related to the Lord, and that the Lord is very kind and merciful, then we also become kind and merciful. But if everything is hostile, then in order, what can we do? We have to save our life. You know what I mean? I mean, that's why we're taking the organs. It's not that we hate you, but we have to save our life, And I'm sorry, but I've got to take that kidney, Yeah. Just before breaking. Yes. Yeah. A little loud, my right ear is blocked today.
Understanding that genetic modify sound just mess up with everything, but also how will we be against that donating organs? Is it more also because of the parent karma and passing karma into the other?
Okay, donating organs. Yeah. So besides the system of harvesting, which is not as sweet as we thought it was, leaving that aside for a moment, then you have the other ethical thing. What if I give my heart, to someone who then becomes a demon? or who is already a demon, and I'm sustaining his demoniac way of life with my devotee heart, right? And it's just a piece of flesh. The subtle heart is not going with it, right, as some people think. And not most of the time, sometimes the ghost goes with it, you know. So it is, when it says the soul is in the heart, it means in the region of the heart. It means in the subtle body, in the region of the heart, and the heart that's transplanted goes into the other body and will then just give life to that person. Meanwhile, that person, here we gave our devotee heart, or the heart that we used in devotional service, and now that heart will be used in demoniac activities. And yes, we get karma for it. We get karma. And sometimes they say that after a heart transplant, the person develops the taste of that the other person had, starts to like things that the other person had. How do we explain that? Personally, I think that the ghost of the person who's transplanted went with the heart and sort of began to influence that person. That would be my explanation for that. Because it's not that the physical heart is actually where the soul resides or anything like that. But it can be that the ghost goes with it. Anyway, bouncing organ transplants around the room a little bit. Leaving that for what it is, it was just a graphic example.
I'd like you to explain just one other thing for the Grihastha community. You mentioned at one stage about the whole concept of Santa Claus and the little child and Santa Claus. Can you give a little bit of a synopsis as to a Krishna conscious point of view about Santa Claus in relation to our children? Some Grihasthas think that it's fine for a child to have this belief in Santa Claus because there's, being talked about in school and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
It's such a big thing.
Yeah.
From a Krishna conscious point of view, how do we deal with it?
Yeah, it's very true that when you bring up children, they have to live in a world. And if you culturally isolate them completely from that world, they become very far removed from that world if they don't know anything about Disney or anything about, they're socially quite isolated in a way. Therefore, many parents, they think that it's helpful if their children read Winnie the Pooh and or hear about Winnie the Pooh and Santa Claus and all these other things to sort of be part of the world and at the same time be devotees also. And what's wrong if they believe in Santa Claus? Yeah, well, from a spiritual point of view, it is obviously not beneficial because you're creating a false deity that can give false benedictions, and false happiness. The benedictions are generally material, so it points the happiness towards material things. Santa gives you that dream gift that you always wanted, that remote control car, golden little car. Now you get it. Oh, Santa fulfills my material desires. He's my shelter. And so he's the embodiment of material desire, of fulfilling material desires. He acts like a deity, and he's being duly worshipped. So we basically have taken away what belongs to Krishna, puja, and now offering it to him. When Mickey Mouse, it's like Disney had arranged for Mickey Mouse to come to India officially. And Mickey Mouse came by plane and in a costume, etc., landed in Delhi and was formally received. And then they offered an arati. That's part of the welcome. It goes so deep, the culture of worship, the Vedic culture, that they offer an arati. Serious. You know, one film in India that was very big. It was in 1975 that film became very big. I even saw it at the time in India. And that was Santoshima. Oh, Santoshima. Santoshima. No? Santoshima was a goddess who would be something like Superman, always appear, you know, to save the person in the burning building or on the sinking ship or something like that. Then Santoshima would appear and save that person. And the whole movie was like that. You know, and people, after that movie, in India they started Santoshima temples. And they still have, even in Gujarat, you know, they have Santoshima temples. And it's a totally Bollywood fabricated deity. You know? Yeah? So see the danger of these things. There is danger. So I think devoting parents should not let their kids believe in Santa Claus. I think they should tell about Santa Claus. You know, that's fine. I mean, a little awareness of saying whether you want to have a Christmas tree or not, I don't care. But to actually believe that there is a Santa Claus, I don't think it's a good idea. I think that takes it a bit too far. And you see the example of that boy who's dying in the arms of Santa Claus and got cheated. Santa, can you help me? And Santa just holds him, trying to cheer him up. And what does he bring him? You know, that's terrible. That's a tragedy. That's a tragedy.
Whereas in reality, the history behind Santa Claus.
In reality,
the history behind Santa Claus himself was a manifestation of the Coca-Cola industry. But in actuality, it's Saint Nicholas that they took as the epitome of Christmas. And Saint Nicholas was actually a saintly personality who helped people.
is that a Dutch explanation of
Historically, actually,
Yeah.
through the Christian teaching,
yeah?
he was a personality who was extraordinarily saintly.
Yeah, the Saint Nicholas was, yes.
And he's
But are you sure that link is there? I mean,
yeah, that is
Yeah.
absolutely where it comes from.
what? When I come to Finland, they always say, hey, you know, Santa Claus is ours. He lives here in Lapland. You know, he's got the dress of a Laplander, and he's moving in what you call it, a sledge pulled by reindeer and all that. It's from Lapland, so they say. Anyway, enough about Santa Claus. Yes.
From Santa Claus we can see,
Loud, I am really deaf in one ear today.
from the story of Santa Claus we can see that if illusion lasts too long, then you start to believe it. It's like material world.
Yeah, it's true. It's interesting. It shows how the illusory energy works. And that we're not just believing in Santa Claus, but we're believing in modern science. And that's even worse than Santa Claus. And we're believing in a mechanistic model of the universe. And we've systematically mentally killed all the personal deities that control the universe. And as a result, we're left out in the cold. We're left out in the cold. We're missing the warm shelter of a deity. See, I'm dealing with forces that are inimical to me. Where do I find shelter? But I have a deity. I can ask the deity. I have Lord Vishnu, please do something about this meteorite, Save me. I have someone to turn to. But in the mechanistic universe, we have nothing. So worse than Santa Claus is even the scientist who promises us that yes, we have the real answers. That's it. Therefore, Richard Dawkins, right? He leaves us out in hell. He gives us all his philosophy, and in the end, we're in a hellish situation without shelter. Thanks, Mr. Donkey. I'll stop now. Thank you very much. Śrīmad Bhāgavatam ki jai.